People to come on, and we can start in just a few minutes. Chris, you have to pick up your son today, right? Is that still today?
No, that was the last time we
That was
met.
the last time? Okay.
Yeah. No, today my daughter, well, and we'll talk about kid problems earlier, but my daughter, I missed the doctor's appointment she had today where she's been having some knee pain. And so they were going to actually inject lidocaine in her knee and have her run on a treadmill to to see if she still had pain. They're trying to figure out if it's a knee problem or a back problem.
How old is she?
17,
Does she do sports?
lot of cheer, some
Oh,
soccer.
okay. Okay. I don't miss those days. I used
She's
to
my
be,
youngest.
oh, okay. I used to be a cheerleader, and I just remember always being the smallest one. I always would be the first one to drop all the time.
First one
That,
to get picked up too.
yeah, I get picked up too, but always the first one to hit the ground. Um, all right, so we have a few more people coming in. You want to start in maybe like 5 minutes, 12:05, or wait a little bit more?
Let's do 12:05. That's perfect. Yeah, we'll give them a little bit more time.
Okay. All right, so it is 12:05. We're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I am super, super, super excited to have this class with you guys and basically talk about how to get your time back with a virtual assistant. So my name is Janae Thomas. I am a local real estate agent in the Orlando area. I also own a content and event space called Creative Corner Studio, and I also have a real estate digital platform called JT University. I have been using Cyberbacker now going on 2 years, and I'm super, super excited to share how having a virtual assistant has changed my business, and hopefully it can help change your businesses as well. So I'll go ahead and introduce my co-host, Chris, and have him take it away.
Thanks, Janae. All right, so my name is Chris Goldie. There's my lovely picture up there. I have the Goldie Real Estate Group in Maryland, so it is just south of Washington, D.C., a little town called Waldorf, Maryland, that most people haven't heard of. At this point, that is completely run by my cyberbacker, so I can talk a little bit about that as we get on if anybody is in real estate and has questions. And then I also am the cyberbacker franchise owner for North Florida, which is essentially I-4 all the way north. Um, in that area that and so we handle really as a franchise owner, I'm more the ambassador. If there's any issues that come up, things like that you need help with, um, generally Powell can handle everything. But if not, every now and then Powell needs to call on me to come in, and I'll introduce Powell here a little bit too. Um, the so that's me. I've been in real estate for 20 years now, 21 years this year. Um, and my team at its height still we were running with several different cyberbackers, and that was how I was introduced to cyberbacker and came here. It made my life a whole lot easier. We're talking about today how that we can do the same thing for you with cyberbacker. So for this particular part, I'm doing a calendar that looks like it could be for a loan officer. I don't know, do we have any loan officers on? Anyone? Anybody want to raise their hand and admit it? No? All right. So, but the reality is this could work for, oh, somebody, LaShonda, are you a loan officer?
No, I'm not. I am not.
Hey Chris, before you get started, can we have everyone drop in the chat what they do just so we can kind of see what industries we have on today? So if you're joining us, go ahead and drop in the chat what industry you're in, just so we have an idea as well. All right, go ahead,
Gonna be
Chris.
real estate agents, event space owner. All right, that's and the when people ask me now what I do for the most part, I typically tend to say real estate investors now. That's kind of where I've come with my real estate career. So, well, then being in real estate, we're going to recognize a loan officer's calendar, and we're going to see some of the things that would similarly have on ours. Uh, we probably all know we should be doing time blocking. We're probably not all doing time blocking, but if you are doing time blocking, you're going to have a calendar that's going to look a little bit like this, right? So you can come in Monday morning, you're going to check your emails for the weekend, you're going to get on social media, you're going to start reaching out to real estate agents. You're going to do some cold calls maybe to people that came in and get qualified. You're going to have to spend some time in your CRM. A lot of these are really similar to activities we have as a real estate agent, right? Or anything else that's out there. If somebody else jumps on in other industries. So this is what a great time block calendar looks like. And we're going to run our schedule to this, and it's going to be perfect. And we're not going to miss a beat at all, right? That's the way it works for everybody. Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe you get up in the morning, you get in the morning, you come in, you're going to start looking at those emails, and you find out an appraisal came in low on a property that you have. So now you got to stop what you were doing and fix that. Um, then a buyer you thought was pre-approved isn't really going to be able to get the loan that they got. So now you got to stop and deal with that. Your appointment you had in the afternoon, they had something come up with the kids, and now they've got to change their time, and you've got to readjust your whole schedule around that. Or your kids. We were talking about this before. My daughter had a doctor's appointment this morning. So now you got to change your schedule around to do that. So the time blocking doesn't always work out the way it's supposed to. And so we find that maybe we're not able to get to a lot of the things that we're supposed to get to. And so our perfectly planned week winds up looking like this. Yeah, like Janae just said, hers looks exactly like this, right? And it happens all the time. I had a coach one time who had me, first thing he had me do was create my time block schedule. And then he actually had me track for weeks, every 15 minutes, what I was actually doing. And the first week I realized that I didn't set any time for that block right there, the checking weekend emails first thing in the morning. So I couldn't figure out why by 9:30 on Monday morning, I was already 2 days behind. So the and so the schedule changes and fluctuates, and we have to deal with all these different things coming up at us, and it's constantly throwing our schedule around. Um, and we're just a mess, right? We're all a mess. We all have issues like that. So let me ask you a question here, and you can do a show of hands. But who here would be available to hire at $9 an hour? Anyone? That feels like a no, like a hard no. Um, well, and that's, currently, if you look on Indeed, there's a lot of different places you can go and work for way more than $9 an hour. Um, you can go to Dillard's, you can go to Home Depot, you can work at T-Mobile. I think I saw at the local McDonald's that they're hiring at $18 an hour. Um, so there's not a lot of people out there that are willing to work for $9 an hour. You can do a lot more than for $9 an hour. Um, but who would get a raise if we started paying you $15 an hour? It's a long time ago, but I hired my first showing assistant on my team, and we offered her a split. And so her job was entirely just to go out and show homes. That was it. Somebody else, she picked the homes to go show, but somebody else had already done everything with the buyer. So she just had a set appointment to go and show homes. And I told her she was gonna get 15% of the commission of the deal just for showing homes, not writing contracts. Just when the person said they wanted to buy a house, they went back to my head buyer's agent who would write that contract. And she said, "No, you can't do that. I'm worth more than 15%. I said, how about $15 an hour? She knew as a real estate agent, that would be a raise for her from what she had been doing. Um, she did go home and talk to her husband and came back and said she'd take the 15% because it was a whole lot more than the $15 an hour. But a lot of us throughout, and definitely me, even at some points in my career in real estate, $15 an hour would have been a raise. I would have been better off going to that and getting that job at Nordstrom. And the reason I ask that is because if you were to look, a lot of those tasks on your calendar are $9 an hour tasks. Yep, catching up on the email, calling real estate agents, cold calling, right? There's a lot of people that will sit and call you and tell you that, they're trying to reach you about your extended home warranty. And that's about a $9 an hour job. Um, the really dollar productive activities we have, and since we're all real estate agents on here right now, I'll tell you, as a real estate agent, right, it's showing homes, it's going on listing appointments, it's writing and negotiating offers, it's going to closings. That's it. Everything else is a $9 an hour job because we have labor available to us at $9 an hour. So if you're doing those things, you're working for $9 an hour. My mom used to have a retail store, and I remember showing my dad one time when they did the taxes, how much money she made. And then my dad sat down and broke down what that was per hour she spent in the store and showed her she was making less than minimum wage. Sometimes that happens to us as real estate agents too, right? So but there's a lot of tasks that we're doing that are $9 per hour task. And that's why we're not making the money that we want to make as real estate agents or loan officers or anything else. You have to be doing less of the $9 per hour task and more of the $100 per hour task, right? That's how we have the lifestyle we want. That's how we make the money we want. But here's the truth. You can't get to the $100 per hour task until the $9 per hour tasks are done, right? You don't know if there is an email in there from a buyer ready to buy a house or a seller who's saying, come list me, unless you check that email. So the $9 per hour tasks have to be getting done. Can we all agree on that?
I have a question. I think, Nashondra, do you have a question? I think your hand is raised. I just want to make sure we tackle.
No, I think that's what he said. Raise your hand.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. So Chris, I had a question for you. Like, how do we know how to differentiate between the $9 and $100 an hour work?
Oh, that's an excellent question. So really the biggest thing there is can somebody else do it? Right? You don't need to check your email. You do need, in the example of our calendar earlier, if you're a loan officer, you need to go have lunch with that real estate agent. As a real estate agent, you have to go on that listing appointment, right? So, if you're a contractor, you have to go give that estimate. So it's those kind of things is can somebody else do them? So can they be delegated? A very good friend of mine, a lot of people in real estate know him, Ben Kinney. I remember one of the first things he told me about that is that he realized pretty quickly that in real estate to be successful, that he needed to offload as many of the tasks that that have to be done as possible. And he said he started with the lowest dollar per items first. So the least skilled items, right? So going through your email, for example, those kind of things. So um, for example, the Goldie group we talked about earlier. I don't even know the password to get into the email account for everything that comes in on that anymore. So if there's something going on there that needs my attention, my cyberbacker gets my attention. But I don't even see that email anymore. So, but that's the way is you have to, a lot of those things are distractions. Think about social media, right? Get on social media real quick to go do those posts or get that reel going or you run that ad or tweak that audience or whatever. And then, you spend 45 minutes looking at videos of cats. Um, right? We've all done it. Admit it. Or your whole day's gone from looking at videos of cats. Um, so we have to get through that stuff. So that's like, all of our cyberbacker social media stuff, PAL handles. So, right, but you don't have to get onto social media and like people's posts, interact with them so that they're being reminded of you. You don't even have to get on and do your own post. You can have somebody else doing those posts. So, um, so you're trying to do all those $9 an hour tasks and get them done is not going to get you to the $100 an hour task because honestly, you're just not really efficient at doing the $9 an hour task, right? That's kind of what it comes down to. All right, so now first thing people always say is they can't afford a $1,500 a month assistant, right? I can't afford a $1,500 a month assistant. Um, but the truth of the matter is you can't afford not to. You won't find anybody who is massively successful that doesn't have leverage at some level. They've got somebody else that's doing something. As your business grows in any business, you're going to come up to where your main focus is going to be people, right? It's going to be all about people. You're going to get to wherever you want to go through people. And that's all it's going to come down to. So the sooner you make that jump, the faster you're going to get there. And look at all the $9 an hour tasks. If you give all those $9 an hour tasks away, start spending time on the $100 or $250 an hour task. $250 as a real estate agent prospecting, I always counted that as a $250 an hour activity. Always. But the only way, once you get those $9 hour task off and you start working on those higher dollar activities, you're going to see that $1,500 a month for a cyberbacker is nothing. The next thing I hear from people is they're not busy enough to justify having somebody. And the reality is you're just not busy enough with the $100 hour task, just like I talked about, right? You've got to get those $9 an hour tasks done to get to the $100 an hour task. If you're not getting to the $100 an hour task, you're never going to get busy, right? If you're never spending any time lead generating, you're never going to spend any time going on listing appointments. If you're never spending any time tweaking your audience for your Facebook advertising campaign, you're never going to get to go out and give that estimate if you're a contractor. So whatever industry you're in, all those tasks, they'll compile the same way. The dollars might be different. Next thing I hear is my company does it for me. So making social media posts, creating flyers for open houses, fine-tuning your audience. There's a lot of people that are member of franchises that provide those things, or members of some type of a group, or things of that nature. But really, do you want to be putting out the same social media post as everybody else? Because that's what they're doing, right? They're providing one generic one for everybody to put out. It's not the most effective way to do it. So, do they really do everything? Do they have somebody for you that's in your email? Do they have somebody that is, constantly monitoring your social media messages and accounts and those kind of things? So there's not really a company that does it all for everybody. Well, maybe Cyberbacker if you hire one. This is the biggest thing I hear people say is they don't trust that the person they're bringing on board will complete the task as good as they can, or as well. As well. The that may
I
be
think
true.
we should
If
pause
that
on this one because I think this is the biggest objection, at least for as before I hired my first virtual assistant. So, what would you say to someone that is not ready? They want to hire a virtual assistant, but they just don't feel like they are comfortable enough to give it to someone else.
So it comes down to two things there. It really comes down to one main thing there, and that is it's how well are you going to train them? Actually, I guess it is two things. It's how well you're going to train them and how well are you going to hold them accountable, right? You have to inspect what you expect. So, but with a cyber, you are hiring an employee with a cyberbacker. You're getting somebody that's going to come in and they are good. You're going to need to set expectations with them. You're going to need to do some training for them. A lot of it, though, they're not going to be right over your shoulder asking you. One of the things that I found with every cyberbacker that I've ever hired, every cyberbacker I've interacted with, is that they're self-starters. They're going to go out and they're going to teach themselves how to do a lot of things. We have some training on some CRM platforms, but if, say, you're using Salesforce for yours, or you have a proprietary one for your company, or whatever the case may be, the cyberbacker is going to go out there and watch YouTube videos to teach themselves how to do it. So, so that a lot of the how-to you don't have to, what you really have to be clear on is your expectations on every single thing. And if you're not sure what those tasks will be, one of the very first thing we have you do is you come in and we have what's called a business evaluation. You're going to sit down with Pal, and Pal's going to go through your business with you, and you guys are going to make what's called, we call a one pager, which is essentially the job description for your cyberbacker. So if you say, I don't even know what I'd have them do, that's the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cover what are you going to have them do. Then for your first 90 days, once a week, Pal's going to check in with you. And the first thing she's going to do is, so you're going to take that one pager, you're going to prioritize it with the highest things on the top. And the first thing Pal's going to do is she's going to talk to you about how's your cyberbacker doing on keeping up with your email and phone calls, if you say that's your first thing. So until your cyberbacker gets that down, then you move on to the next thing and you'll work your way down that whole list. So we're making sure. So in addition to, yes, you have to set the expectations. Yes, you have to train them. Yes, you have to be clear on what their activities are. We're also taking the step to make sure that you are also then inspecting that, at least for the first 90 days to help you get that habit going. Then Pal's going to check in with you once a month after that.
So I would say just for those who haven't been into the virtual space at all, what made me realize that I needed a virtual assistant is when everything was in my head. So when I brought on my first assistant, I couldn't tell them what to do because I'm just used to doing things so quickly. So one thing I would advise for everyone that's on the call is for the next 2 weeks, start making a list of what you're doing and then kind of, differentiating that $9 to $100 an hour work, because you may think you don't have something, for them to do, but once you start itemizing what you're doing, I'm pretty sure you'll make a list of what you can hand off to someone that, is between that $9 to $100 an hour work.
You can start a little note on your phone, and when you're sitting there bored and you get ready to go open up Facebook, Instagram, whatever your drug of choice is on your phone, you can you can you can instead go to that notepad and say, oh, in the last hour I did this, this, and this, and that can go to a cyberbacker, and that can go to me, and and that I have to do, but man, I can't wait to get rid of it, and those kind of things, right? So, but it's just going on there. And it says on here that I tried hiring somebody and it didn't work out. I've done it before a million times myself. Most of the time it was me, right? I didn't set expectations. I didn't hold them accountable. I wasn't real clear on what I wanted with them. So you have to take a little ownership in that kind of thing. So I know somebody else that tried and failed. Like I said, we're going to have stuff in there that's going to, that's going to help you succeed. Like we really want you to succeed. I have trust issues. All these things all kind of fall under the same category. I need to talk to my business partner, spouse, attorney, therapist, psychic, magic 8 ball. Magic 8 ball is personally my favorite. Just go ahead, ask away. It's usually right. But the reality is that you have issues. We all have issues. It's one of the biggest problems to growth for a business owner is letting go of stuff, right? That comes down to that trust issue we have. So, like I said, we all have issues, and the biggest thing is you do kind of have to take a leap of faith there and know that we've got the stuff in place to help it work out for you. All right. Now there's something in chat. Is that a question? Let me look. No, it was, do you have any questions so far? Are you still good? Everybody good? All right. All right. So question, do you want help to build and implement this in your business? And what would that look like if you do? The answer was yes, right? Everybody was yes. They want to make sure they do this right. All right. So what would it look like if you did implement this? So you have a cyberbacker that's going to come to you for 40 hours a week. You can get one for 20 hours a week. I caution against that for a couple of reasons. One is that cyberbacker is going to be looking for a full-time schedule. So they're going to be looking for another client part-time to be able to work there 40 hours a week. And so then when you decide that, man, this is working out great and I want them to go work for me 40 hours a week, they can't. They're committed to somebody else. So now Pal and Abby are going to go out and have to try to find you a new cyberbacker for a 40-hour a week for you to then go through a whole business evaluation again. And what's their business plan going to look like? So I encourage you to go ahead and just plan on it's 40 hours a week. And so what are you going to do with them for 40 hours a week? Well, if you look on here, very first thing, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, they're going to be answering your phone. They're going to be responding to your text messages. And yes, they can respond to your text messages. And there's a way where we can do that, where you can take all those text messages you have coming in right now from clients and potential clients. And if you're a real estate agent, the people on the other side of the transaction, there is a way where you can have all that go straight to your Cyberbacker, and your Cyberbacker's handling all that. And so now you're just texting with your mom and your kids and your friend down the street, swapping memes that you found on your drug of choice on the phone. Janae, were you getting ready to say something?
Yeah, we have a question. Just to kind of clarify, I'm not sure if you will get to this, but do they are some cyberbackers trained to call leads and set appointments?
Yeah, we do have, and they're a little bit more difficult to find. But if you specifically wanted somebody just for that,
Mhm.
they call to do that, we have somebody that we can do that we can have just for that. What most people do is they have the cyberbacker come in that for 40 hours that does everything, and they have them touch some warm leads or do the initial follow-up with leads. Um, they, set those appointments and things like that. And we, depending upon you, like some people just aren't very good at cold calling. Like I built a real estate business around cold calling. And then when I got a real estate office and I started cold calling real estate agents to recruit them, it turned out I was really bad at that. Um, so there's some stuff that you can work with. It depends again on what exactly, and that's so LaShawna, the answer to your question is it depends on which way yes, we do that. It depends which way you want to go. You'll work that out in a business evaluation with Pal. And Pal just put a link up there to schedule. All right. So now your Cyberbacker schedule. So the Cyberbacker on here is this green stuff, right? So they're managing your phone, your text, their email, they're closing out the day, they're updating your CRM, they're doing the borrower follow-up, they're working on your email campaign. Um, they got, a weekly expectations call with you, right? First thing Monday morning, you're doing a one-on-one with them, or you're going through everything. What do you want them to do for the week? When you get a good one, they're going to tell you what they're doing for the week. By about 90 days in, they're telling you, this is what I'm handling for you today, this week, this month. This is where we are on this that you're working on. Um, and he's like, yep, that's how it works, right? So that's Pal and I's weekly meeting is mostly her just updating me on the things that we talked about last week. We of course talk about the numbers and where we need to be and everything like that. But then it's, going forward, what are we doing with Cyberbacker this week, this month? Um,
So I put a
the
question in the chat, Chris. I want to go ahead and tackle it just so as the list goes, I don't miss any. So someone asked, do I have an example of list of tasks for my cyberbacker? And so to answer that question, yes. So my cyberbacker is on. Her name is Seth. She's amazing. Absolutely love working with her. So Seth has two different roles with us right now. So she helps on the real estate side, and she also helps me with JT University. So she is coined our JT University manager, and she helps everything on the JT University side. And then she also assists my assistant on the real estate side of things. So as far as task lists, over the years, we're about to be on 2 years of us working together. It has changed over time. Okay. And that also, so as far as setting the expectation of what Chris said earlier, we use ClickUp for our project management tool, right? So she has a list of her virtual assistant tasks that are daily, then she has projects underneath that. So the daily tasks are things that she knock out first thing in the morning, and then the projects are what we kind of use to field throughout the day. So I'll give an example of a project that we just gave her. We had a client reach out that currently has a home, but wanted us to create a list of what to do when you need to buy and sell at the same time. So I gave that project to Seth to say, hey, here, go on AI, type this in AI, and then make this a pretty document for me. And she did it. Right. So she has a very twofold role. So she helps with marketing. She helps with client follow-up. She helps with our database. Says, let me know if I leave anything out. Seth is also, one thing I realized with having a virtual assistant is that we treat Seth like she's a part of the team, and we also allow her to make decisions. So when my brain is foggy and my assistant's brain is foggy, we leave Seth to make the decisions, okay? Because if we can't come to a decision, we're like, hey, Seth, what do you think? So also kind of thinking about if your virtual assistant in the past didn't work out, kind of think of those things of like making them feel included. So we give her autonomy with working with us as well. So from that autonomy, now that we built that trust together, her task list is just expanded based on things that I can't mentally, physically think about. I'll give to Sess and have her sit with it, and she'll come back with something for me. So I think we do have a written list, but I just wanted to let you know that it changes for everyone, but we do use ClickUp as our project management tool to outline everything that we do together, if that makes sense.
And Pal has a list. She's going to drop in a Google Drive link to the into the chat so that you'll be able to see that too and take a look at that. There it goes. And then Pal, you saw the message. The calendar link wasn't working.
Yes, I just sent an updated one.
Janae, that's a good thing you talk about with where you empower her to have decisions and everything. My cyberbacker that's been with me the longest, 10 years now, is he is empowered to be me when he feels the need to. So sometimes in conversations with agents, he'll sign an email from me. It's like one of the things where that will present itself. Like he'll sign his signature, sign off as Chris. Another thing is if I don't like to be on the phone a whole lot. He can definitely get on the phone and be me, like pass any of the verification stuff. Like, he can tell you my mother's maiden name, the last four of my social security number, what street did I grow up on. He knows all that stuff, right? So,
Wow, he's like family at this point,
he's like
right?
family at this point. That's exactly right. So, yeah, watching his kids grow up, everything else, when we get our when we have a little tropical storm that just came through, they get massive typhoons over in the Philippines. And you're always sitting there wondering what's going on. And so now I've got a cyberbacker in Cebu to near Manila. And so whenever that's going on over there, I'm always kind of watching the storms and checking out with them because they're all like family, right? Just like if you had somebody sitting next to you at your desk, same thing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this is your cyberbacker schedule of all those things. And of course, after this is done, your schedule becomes perfect, right? So you can just go over here and everything you're doing, right? You're filming for your social media post, you're driving a little bit, you're going to lunch with that real estate agent, going back to this being a lender's schedule that we're using, reaching out to new real estate agents, going and playing golf with a lead prospect, something along that line. That's always something good to do. And, any of these things. And it's perfect, right? Nothing ever goes wrong. That's not quite true, right? You're still going to see, this is where Janae, with her two cyberbackers, said her schedule looks like this. You still have those things that come and interrupt. Life still happens. The kids still get sick. The, the client has to move their schedule around. All those things still continue to happen in your day-to-day life. So it moves. But everything that you're doing is now those $100 hours activities we talked about, and not the $9 an hour activities that we talked about. I see chat blowing up again. Let's see.
Someone asked a question. What should we be paying them?
What do we pay them? Okay, so we have for a 40-hour week employee, it's $1,500 a month. And so from that, we're coming in and so we do the company profit shares with them. The company has almost like a little private bank for them. So there's a lot of benefits that come to them as well. So they're being paid from that $1,500, plus they're getting a lot of employee benefits. So everything's included in there. So it's not like if you hire somebody here for $20 an hour, and then on top of that, you're paying their taxes and you're paying their Social Security, and you got to have some benefits for them. So there's those different things that come up like that. Over and above your hourly wage you're paying somebody. With the cyberbacker, you're getting all of that for $1,500 a month. Now, what we do encourage, and they get some raises built in there over time, but what we do encourage when you have somebody that's well trained and up there, and then they're doing well for you, is we do encourage you to pay a little bit more over that, do bonuses and those kind of things. So, but that's where we start. We start at $1,500 a month.
And then how much is the part-time package, just so?
$850 right now, Pal, is that right?
Well, actually, Chris, it ranges from 800 to $2,000 depending on the tasks that they will be leveraging, because you'll agree that, of course, that the inside sales agent task, the one who's doing phone calls and setting appointments, really varies the monthly service fee. But then again, you can schedule an appointment with me so that we can discuss and formulate everything that you're asking for. But yeah, it's 800 to 1,500 for the admin role.
You can even have a cyberbacker. So this is one of the neatest things I've seen. So I'm on Slack all day with the cyberbackers. One of the first people that taught me how to use virtual assistants was using Skype back when Skype was Zoom. But he was always on a Skype call with his virtual assistant sitting at his desk all the time. But now Amazon sells glasses you can put on where your cyberbacker can see and hear what's going on. So like if I'm at Mega Agent Camp with Keller Williams Realty coming up next week, because I will be there. And Janae comes over and she starts talking to me, and I tell I'm got my glasses on. Pal can be sitting there, and if I tell Janae, "Hey, yeah, that's a great idea. Hey, I'll get that sent to you a little bit later this afternoon," Pal's able to sit right there and send it to her now because she heard the conversation. She participated in the conversation. So you can really do a lot of different things with the different calibers of people and different things you want to bring them in for. All right. So anyways, like the calendar we went through there before, the assistant's going to take over those $9 per hour tasks. They're not going to fix the chaos. But man, it sure feels like it sometimes. Like they fix the chaos. And then also like going back to the different level, talking about the different cyberbackers, we are the one-stop shop. So really whatever it is you're looking for, if you need a cyberbacker that's going to be just a cold call lawyer on the phone, we can do that. If you need somebody that's just going to do your social media and your advertising campaigns, we can do that. In fact, I think we have one of it. Those experienced ones of those people are hard to come by, and we do have one available right now. I think she's still available. She was Friday. But so whatever it is that you're thinking, there is somebody that we can find for that. Finding them with experience is difficult. Finding them, like I said earlier, where they need the training, but we direct them to those resources I was talking about. If they need to know, best practices for Facebook Reels for capturing leads, you're gonna go watch YouTube videos that teach them that to come back to you with ideas. Right? It all comes down to setting those expectations. All right, so we've been kind of doing questions as we've gone along, but now is there any that we haven't covered? Any addressed?
As we wait for people, thank you, Chris. That was great. I hope this gives you guys a perspective of what can happen if you do hire a virtual assistant, and the fact that Chris is very hands off with his real estate business and it still runs, and the world is not ending, right? So that's something to kind of take note of. So I would say for me, before I started working with Cyberbacker, I had interviewed multiple virtual assistant companies, and they just weren't a good fit. The things that stick out to me most with Cyberbacker is that they do something called like a rapid fire of interviews. So basically, if you guys decide to move forward, they will, based on the skill set of what you need, they'll bring you a few virtual assistants for you to interview. And it's basically like rapid fire, to where you talk to a few, 5 to 10 minutes, you get their resume prior to, and you interview them on the spot, and you have the opportunity to hire them then, or continue to interview. So that's one thing that I think is really, really important. Before Seth started officially working with us, we gave Cyberbacker a list of all the systems that we use. So before she officially started, she had an overview of the systems that we use. So we currently use Follow Up Box as our CRM. We use ClickUp. We use Flowdesk as our email marketing. So they gave her some training on those things if she didn't have prior training before she came on with us. So that would probably be number 2 that I like the most. And then number 3 that I think is super, super, super important, that I don't think any other virtual assistant company does this, is that the Cyberbackers are required to send in like a daily check-in of like what was completed that day. Okay, that's probably the biggest thing of like spending money to pay for a virtual assistant and you have no idea what they're doing. Right? Are they just over there twiddling their thumbs, or are they actually working? So I like that there's a one sheet that lets me know, hey, from 9 to 10, I worked on this and it's in progress. From 11 to 1, I worked on this and I'm completed this task. So being able to see what's being done every day is like a huge game changer, because now you feel like the needle is moving in your business, because you see tasks that are being completed, and then you see the tasks that are not being completed. And then that also lets you know, as you know, the leader of your cyberbacker, like, hey, do you need more training in this marketing thing? Like, you know, it's taking you a little bit longer to do this skill. Maybe we need to kind of switch it up and do different things like that. I would also say I learned with having a virtual assistant is that you have to inspect what you expect. Okay. Don't just think you're going to give your cyberbacker everything that you need him to do and it's just going to magically be done. You also have to step in and be a leader and give guidance as well. You know, because they're not going to do it as good as you do it until you teach them how you want it to be done. Okay. So I would just say that tidbit of like how, you know, having a cyberbacker has helped me, or just virtual assistant in general. Do you guys have any questions for myself and Chris, just how we've utilize our virtual assistants and how they've helped us in our business, or any questions that we didn't answer through this presentation? Thank you, Paul, for putting in the flip book. We're going to email that out to you guys as well after the class as well.
Oh, awesome. Good.
Okay, no questions?
Yeah,
Oh, Marvin's got one.
Okay.
thanks for all the info. And based on or on the additional, what's the price looking like to use the platform? Like, it's a monthly fee for the actual person of the VA, but what is the fee for the platform that's going to be used?
Most of them are most of the people that bring in a cyberbacker are going to be at $1,500 a month. Marvin, like I said, we go from 800 to 2,000 depending upon what you're using them for and how many hours you're using them. But a 40-hour cyberbacker is going to be $1,500 a month, and they're going to use whatever platform you want. So whatever CRM you're using, so Janae just ran through what she uses. We use, you know, MailChimp. We communicate via Slack a lot. They do it within Cyberbacker internally, and that was kind of how I wound up on that. But whatever CRM, whatever you're using, they're gonna use that stuff. But and they're gonna be right around 1,500 a month. Did I answer the question?
I mean, as in a sense, is there an additional fee on top of what they're getting paid hourly? Like, I know it's platforms out there that charge their fee for using their platform, and then there's an additional charge for the actual assistant.
Oh, no, I know who you're talking about. No, we don't do that. So we're just the assistant, and we're coming in and we're plugging into whatever you're using, whatever you're familiar with, whatever you want to use.
Okay. And then the next question, are these people fluent in English?
Yes. All of them. So Powell, when did you start learning English? In school or at home? Did you start learning like first immediately got to school?
When I'm still in the womb. No, I'm just kidding. Here in the Philippines, we started learning English preschool, especially nowadays. We learned English, like the serious topics about English elementary. But from elementary up until high school, or college, that's our main language. So if you're asking Marvin if we have great cyberbackers with great communication skills, that I can very much sure of. I mean, we can definitely give you the possible candidates with those characteristics, but of course, we still varies your cyberbackers' responsibilities and needs depending on the attributes that you want them to be. So you can give me the task of if you want someone who's proactive with great communication skills, with experience, we can take note of that and we can utilize that while Abby, our career backer, filter the candidates for you.
Okay.
And Marvin, apparently, as I've been told by one of my cyberbackers, I speak in a lot of idioms and things of that nature. And so when he first started working with me, he did say he had to Google a lot of terms I used initially. He said, but now he's figured me out and he's got it down. But so.
I got you. And then,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
and what is the commitment looking like as in regards to 6-month commitment, year commitment? What does that look like?
6 months right now.
Okay.
The Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and Pat had actually messaged me that just a few minutes ago. So you asked just the right question. She wanted to make sure I said that. So yeah, we do have just a promotion right now of 6 months. It's typically a 1 year commitment.
I got you.
And if something happens and we get a bad match, it happens rarely. We can pause that while we find you a new match.
Mhm.
I got you.
And I would also say too, guys, like I think for the most part, we have a lot of real estate agents on here as well. If you don't feel like there's enough on the real estate side and you've always thought about maybe adding on maybe any type of ebooks or any home buyer like guides or different things like that, that is also something that, you know, your Cyberbacker could help you with if you wanted to kind of add on to what you're already doing and you're like, hey, I want to fill up time. That's another thing that you kind of could explore as well if you feel like you want to mix up the time between your Cyberbacker.
I used to build a list of, hey, I got to do this stuff today. I can do this stuff later. I'm going to save this stuff for a rainy day, and I'll build the ark before I ever touch this stuff. And that I'll build the ark before I ever touch this stuff and this stuff for a rainy day. That all goes to Jerry now.
I like that. I like that. Any other questions, guys? If you want to come off mute,
I
you
have a
can.
question.
Sure.
So a colleague of mine, we've talked about like sharing a VA before because we didn't think we had enough tasks to fill up a 40-hour week. Is that something possible?
Yep, absolutely. In fact, one of the things we encourage people to do too, if when they're talking about that, is to go with either your loan officer, your home inspector, anybody like that that you think could also use the help, and you can partner with them. It doesn't just have to be another agent. It could be anybody.
Okay.
We're
Okay.
industry agnostic, so it could be the guy that paves driveways down the street.
Yeah, and I've done that before as well. With sharing a VA with another agent, and it worked out just fine because what we realized is that skill sets that I was teaching my VA to do that they also needed their like a VA to do. So especially if you're doing agent to agent, a lot of those tasks kind of overlap. So that's kind of cool in a sense that they're learning double from different agents on like, you know, how to improve the business as well.
And you guys should have that conversation. You and the other person should have that conversation up front too about, hey, if the cyberbacker finds you're doing something way more efficient than I am, I fully expect them to bring that into my business and vice versa, right? Just so that you have that expectation set right up front.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Last call. Do we have any more questions? I want to be, you know, mindful of everyone's time. If you don't have any other questions,
One more.
sure, let's do it.
And then as far as the time we need them, I can have them work in the morning or the afternoon.
Yeah. Well, and if they're full time, they'll be 9 to 5. They're going to work on your schedule. I had one time just for pure data entry. And that person worked on their schedule and, you know, they're 9 to 5 in the Philippines because they're 12 hours behind us. But yeah, they're going to work whatever. You can set their schedule to whatever you want it to be.
All right.
Mhm. Yep. All right. So we don't have any more questions. You guys can scan this QR code to book a call with Paul just to kind of go over your business and see if, you know, Cyberbacker is a good fit for you and if it's something you're ready to do now. I would just encourage you. Obviously, it's a big step. I kind of overthought it a lot before I pulled the trigger on it, but I would tell you that it's been a game changer just to have that consistency with someone on the back end to help grow my business, especially if I'm out doing appointments or showings. Like I always have sets there to do things for me on the fly. So it definitely is a game changer. I definitely would encourage you guys to start, like Chris said, use your note section for the next 3 weeks to really write down everything that you're doing in your business. And then that's going to really tell you if you have way too much $9 an hour at work versus $100 an hour at work. And I think if you have way too much $9, that means you're ready for this move. And possibly if you feel like the cost is too much, think about splitting it with someone just to kind of, you know, give you some wiggle room. But we're going into it to where you need to, kind of figure out leverage. And I think that's just extremely important in whatever business that you're in. Leverage is extremely, extremely important because we can't do it all. And the goal is, of course, to retire one day, right? So if everything you do in your business is in your head and you never have it written down and there's no one else that can take it over for you, that means you're going to be in business forever. And I don't think any of us want to do that, right? So just kind of think about that leverage piece as well. Chris, do you have anything you want to share?
I do. You just said something that reminded me of something else that's kind of like a value of the cyberbacker is, now as the world's getting smaller, a lot of us are working from home every day. Maybe for some people, it's a little bit harder to get motivated and do those things that you need to do, right? If we go back even to this calendar right here and trying to get motivated, I gotta, I start calling those agents or whatever the case may be. So one of the things I did at a point in time when I was struggling with that was I set up what I called a co-working time, where I just got on Zoom with my cyberbacker there, almost like accountability. So we both log into Zoom. We most days not even talk to each other while we're on Zoom, which is funny because we talk every day. So, right. So we get off Zoom and start slacking each other. But having that person right there while on Zoom, like it felt like being in the office again and motivated me at one time when I was falling a little bit behind to actually spend that time doing what I'm supposed to be doing instead of, scrolling Facebook. So that's another benefit.
Good point. I like that. Definitely like that. Seth and Leo do that now. So that definitely is something that kind of works. I love that. All right, y'all. So we will send you guys an email with just some final information. And yes, we'll send out the recording as well. We appreciate you guys taking the time. Like I said, if you have any questions, you have myself, you have Chris, and you have Paul to reach out to if you guys need to figure out some next steps. So we look forward to working with all of you and have an amazing day. Bye, y'all.